So we'll just hit play and it's visible.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
I just sit here.
Wait, we can move. We can move. We can move. I don't know if I'm capable. Wait, why don't we just sit right there?
Hey guys, as you're sitting down, it'd be great if you have your phone to take this survey. You might help us save a life. Just before Ryan, the principal, introduces us, if you take it and then it goes to the stop page, and then we want to see what your kind of lift is at the end, and we'll provide it to your school. You know, what you walked in here maybe fentanyl naive, and you're going to walk out of here fentanyl PhD level in hopefully 45 minutes. Do you want to kick us off? Sounds great. Thank you for doing that, and we'll look forward to sharing some information with you guys. Thank you.
So guys, today's presentation is a presentation that I was fortunate enough to see last year, and so that we wanted to bring it in for the IA West whole student population to allow you guys to learn a little bit more about fentanyl prevention and also actions to take if there is a concern for another individual or human. This topic can be emotional. We do ask that if you are feeling emotional, if you could just quietly go out in the back and head down to the IA office if there's any need, but you do need to make sure that you report directly to the office. Additionally, we want to make sure while you're using your phones for this survey, let's try and give our best attention to the presenters today and give them our respect. So hand it off to our representatives from the Fentanyl Fathers.
Thank you so much, Principal. All right, we're kicking off here. It's a real privilege to have the mic handed to a high school group. It's not every day that people like us get trusted, or that anyone gets trusted to do that, but this is important enough. We feel that you need to get this information. I'm here on a sad mission today. I lost my son to this, and Mike over here lost his son to this. And so we find a lot of purpose in warning you guys about this so it doesn't happen to you and your parents. Your parents, it's not just the kid that fentanyl is taking out and slaughtering across America, even in Michigan. It's the #1 killer by far of young people. It takes out both parents right at the same time, if they happen to like it, and I'm sure they do. So I'm going to start us off, hand this over to Mike Gillette, and be about 45 minutes. Thanks for joining us.
Okay. So I always start these presentations the same way. You're going to roll your eyes and say, okay, boomer, I get it. But I truly think that this could be the most important 45 minutes of your school year, and I hope by the time we're done with this school year, that you agree with me on that. So I'm going to start with a number. I'm guessing maybe 200 people in this auditorium right now. Let me share another number with you. Okay, it's a big number. And it's how many people we lose every single day in this country to fentanyl poisoning. So that would wipe out this entire room in less than 1 day. So my name is Michael Gillette, and on January 27th, 2022, my wife and I found my oldest son, Brian, dead on his bedroom floor. Brian died of fentanyl poisoning. This is not unique to my family. It's not unique to Greg's family. We lose over 80,000 people a year to fentanyl poisoning. And this age group right here, you folks sitting in this auditorium, you are the fastest growing age group to be impacted by fentanyl. So don't think this is not something that's going to cross your path. Don't think this is not something that you're going to have to deal with. So who are we? Fentanyl Fathers is a group of fathers who've all lost a child to fentanyl poisoning. We have one member lost 2 of his boys same day celebrating high school graduation. So let that sink in. Why do we do it? Well, I lost my son to fentanyl. This is all I've got left. This has now become my mission to bring you awareness, to bring you the awareness that he did not have. And that's why he's not here today. And the other reason is because everybody in this room was much like my son. You all have ambitions, you have plans, you have goals in your life. And I'm here to tell you one single mistake can change all that. So the next 45 minutes, we're going to bring you awareness, we're going to bring you some factual data and some very personal stories. And I hope that this all resonates with you. So let's get started.
My name is Dominic Tierno. Since I graduated high school in 2014, I've had the great honor of directing a number of documentary films about drugs and drug addiction. In the beginning of summer in 2020, I came across this article. A 14-year-old kid from a town I grew up in had died from what appeared to be a drug overdose. He's a smart, funny guy who, like many kids, was struggling with some anxiety issues and decided that he would turn to drugs to see if he could help himself with that. What happened was he went and bought this pill, this Oxycontin pill, from a guy he had known because he thought that pill might ease the pain of what he was going through mentally. Well, he didn't know it, but that Oxycontin pill wasn't a real Oxycontin pill. It was a fake pill. It looked just like the pill that he wanted to try, but instead of Oxycontin, it was made with fentanyl, a synthetic opioid known to be 50 to 100 times the strength of morphine. That one pill he took that night killed him almost instantly, and his mom found him dead in his bedroom the next morning. So then I go back to Google and I type in fentanyl deaths. I hit search, and then it all made sense. I saw another kid, and I saw high school students, college students, young adults, all recent, all over the country, all dead from fentanyl. And so I'm looking at that and I'm saying, these aren't just normal overdose deaths. These people think they're taking one drug, it turns out they're being killed. Why have we not heard about this?
I gotta be at work at around 4, so at 3 o'clock, I'm trying to wake him up. I said, hey Garrett, wake up, I'm gonna take you to work, on my way to work. And I walked out. The kids, we have a total of 8 kids. Yeah, so we have a big family. And so they go in there trying to wake him up and everything, and they come back out, and they come get me, and they say, hey, Garrett's messing with us, he won't wake up. And I go, hey man, quit messing with your siblings and get up, so I can take you to work, quit playing around. And as soon as I put my hand on him, I knew. I just knew. I felt it.
It's a drug 50 times more potent than heroin. We're talking about the synthetic opioid fentanyl.
So most people haven't heard of this because we haven't been talking about it. As a mom of a kid that died just wanting to experiment, I wish I could just shake you and tell you and make it real for you. But I don't know how to do that. I won't be there when you're facing these decisions. I know that if he knew the effects of his passing, it would crush him. Alex had no intentions of me seeing him lying on a stainless steel table covered with a sheet with only
This would be how much cocaine somebody would have to ingest to kill them. This is the approximate number of prescription pills one would have to ingest to kill them. This is the amount of heroin the average person would have to ingest to kill them. This much fentanyl would kill you and I if we split it. They put fentanyl in cocaine. They put fentanyl in heroin. They put fentanyl, as we already know and talked about, into counterfeit pills. It's odorless, it's tasteless, you don't know it's there. And when you find out it's there, it's too late. You won't even know it. You'll be dead.
Dealers are using social media to show off what they've got, infiltrating feeds of ever younger teens curious about this flashy lifestyle. With more addicts and overdoses by the day, they've got drivers on demand delivering any drug to your door 24/7.
When Andron was 15, he did have a fentanyl poisoning where he was had to be resuscitated. He was in a coma for a couple days, and he had to learn to walk and talk and everything again because him and his friends decided to try a Percocet.
He took a Percocet that he didn't know had fentanyl in it, and February 11th, I got a call that he wasn't breathing, and all I remember is from that screaming, if they let me hug him, he'll come back to life.
Of course, I'm deployed and I worked every day but Sunday. So I worked in a bunker actually, so no cell phone, no Wi-Fi coverage. So I noticed when I went to the town hall, my phone started going off like crazy. I'm getting all these messages, and I'm not understanding what's going on. Like, they were all just saying, you need to call quick, you need to get in. From my wife was saying, hey, you've got to get home. But none of them were very clear on what was going on. And I think the first one that came through that was kind of explaining to me what was going on was the one from my 11-year-old son, Noah. And it simply just said, Dad, Brain's dead.
About 8 o'clock in the morning, when I walked into his room, he was in a lying position facing up against the headboard with his hands over his chest. And I saw his eyes. He had a little blue on top of his lips. I screamed at the very top of my lungs. Daniel! Daniel! We called the paramedics. They carried him down the stairs and put him on the first floor. Started doing chest compressions. And then they took him to Los Angeles Children's Hospital where we were put in the waiting room. Later on that evening, a team of doctors came in. And they said that your boy is just a shell of a boy that he was before. He's not coming back.
He was supposed to graduate from high school this year. If you love yourself, you respect yourself, you love life, you have a choice. Because it is between life or death. This is no joke. You can and will die.
If you know something, definitely say something, because I knew that he had taken Percocets like 2 weeks before he passed, but I didn't say anything because I didn't want him to be mad at me, and I didn't want him to hate me or just anything. So I just kept it to myself. I didn't want to say anything, but all it takes is one pill, and I should have said something.
Don't trust anyone. It's first thing. Don't let your guard down. And just one pill can kill, obviously.
I wish somebody had sat me down and had this talk with me about what fentanyl does to people.
I didn't get that chance. You do.
People just so commonly think that it will not happen to them. I'm talking about great people, nice people, cool people, intelligent people with big plans for the future, big potential. Gone because of one choice. One choice is all it takes. If you don't believe that, I guarantee you, at this point, there was someone very similar to you who wished they could be here right now to look into the camera and look into your eyes and say, don't do it. Please don't do it. Please, I wish I wouldn't have done it. Don't do it. Don't risk your life. So my question for you is, are you going to listen? Or will it be your family and your friends holding your picture, wishing they could have been there to tell you?
Thanks, you guys were great listeners for that. It's not exactly a happy movie. We have actually a longer version of this movie. If you go to fentanylfathers.org at the bottom, there's a 21-minute version. It's quite powerful. This is my son, Drew. When I was listening to big plans for the future and big hopes and all that, smart people, intelligent people, cool people, that would describe him. Yesterday I read his blog. I don't know why, it's been sitting there in my office. I finally picked it up. And he talked about, my dad interviewed me when I was 10 and said, what am I going to be when I grow up? And I said, well, a professional athlete, then an entrepreneur, then I'll run for president. Duh. I'm thinking, great plans. And then he said, my dad said I'm going to be extraordinary, and I plan to be. And he was dead a month and a week later after he wrote that. And I had a bad day yesterday as a result of going down that memory rabbit hole. But talking to you guys gives purpose to his passing. And Drew was kind of a rock star. He had he was a model. He was from the testing that we have, he had a 160 IQ, which is 2 below Einstein. And he was just a brilliant guy. He was also the nicest guy in school. He'd sit down. Anybody sitting alone at the lunch table, he'd be the one sitting next to them. And anyway, my son Jack, that was our last picture taken together. That's his permanent Facebook background. I'm kind of honored to be on it. Drew Swan is his Facebook handle. And my son Jack there called me at 12:30 at night, and he blurted into the speaker, "Dad, are you sitting down?" And I was like, wow, slow down here. I'm sleeping. How's that? He goes, "I need you to be sitting down right now." So I sat up in bed. A shock started going over me, and I thought, oh my gosh, what's he going to tell me here? I thought of Drew right away, and I said, "Say it." He goes, "Drew's dead." And when he said that, I started screaming, bloody murder and God, and just dropping the F-bomb. And I just was in the worst place from that moment forward until I thank you, officer, for your service. There's your school resource officer. Hopefully he carries something called Narcan on him. We're gonna talk about that in a minute. But Drew was exhibiting signs of an overdose, and he was with a guy, and had this guy, Rico, recognized his signs and symptoms of an overdose, which Jonathan's gonna share with you, he would be alive today. If he had this is Narcan, and watch it spray right here. I do that in public to show there's no contraindications. It's not a dangerous drug. It's safe even if someone is not overdosing. You want to err on the side of caution. Anyways, had he had that, he'd be alive, but he wasn't. He said goodnight to his friend. He went into his room and said, "I'm good. I just need to sleep this off." Gave the thumbs up and went into his house, and he died It was discovered the next day. And so we've advocated for this and started this organization and does a lot of other things. 4 federal laws were passed that we've worked on. This is where I raised him. I paddled that little place right behind that tombstone. We would go by in canoes all the time. So he said, well, he'll be at a canoe place. This is a gal who was teaching her freshman class about fentanyl. You can't hear it that well.
Controlled substances have very serious side effects, which include but are not limited to drowsiness, dizziness, mental fog, and in very serious cases, death. And actually, not really in very serious cases, even a small amount of fentanyl can kill you, and it's very, very scary. And this is an epidemic killing millions of people in teens. It's growing crop in the United States.
In the movie, you saw her dad. He had the white cap on. He got the phone call, Rain's dead. Because this is Rain. 1 month later, she died of fentanyl poisoning. How could the person teaching about fentanyl poisoning actually fall victim to it? Somebody at a pool gave her a Xanax. Noticed she was a little anxious, and she said, "Is this a real Xanax?" Like, yeah. So she whipped out her iPhone and she typed in, what does a real Xanax look like versus a generic and a fake. And what she held in her hand, she believed was real. She took it and she died. Her mother, Carla, is the saddest person I know, but also a real champion. She got a law passed mandating this type of fentanyl education throughout the state of Oklahoma. This is why we're here. It's the 900-pound gorilla. It's killing. 2-3 years ago, it was 2,996 in Michigan. 2 years ago, it was 3,004. It's gone down a little bit. Nationally, it used to be, for 3 years in a row, it was over 100,000. Now it's at 80,000. But to show you how big that is, you take drunk driving, 9/11, COVID, childhood cancer, Vietnam War deaths, add them all up. Those are famous deaths, you would agree. And yet, all added up, it's less than died last year by overdose, 70+% of that driven by fentanyl. To put that in perspective, that's like the Little Caesars Arena, a Red Wing game sold out, a Piston game sold out, and then a Detroit Tiger, American Park sold out all day. That's how many people that is in this country. So there's been kind of an outcry, and we finally got the attention of everybody, because bereaved parents are loud. And so, and we're here talking to you about it. There's famous people that have died from this. Prince is our poster child. There's a lot. Like, from my boomer era, there's a guy named Jackson Brown. He may be playing in a benefit concert for us coming up, but his son died of fentanyl poisoning this year. Mac Miller, Angus Cloud, maybe you watched the show Euphoria. It doesn't matter how rich you are or famous, fentanyl is an equal opportunity killer. I'm going to turn this over to Jonathan now. He's got a lot of important things to share with you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Maxkay. I work with the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities. We're a nonprofit here in Oakland County. We do a lot of work with substance use, both on the prevention side of things, going into schools, teaching healthy ways of living, and then the recovery support side, which is more my side, where we do naloxone trainings and presentations. We also work with individuals to help them find their own pathways into recovery. We also work with 20 different member coalitions. The local coalition for here is the Huron Valley Coalition. I know them well, Jordan, their director. If you're interested in getting into this kind of work, definitely reach out to her. She does great work. My goals for today, I'm going to educate you guys and raise awareness on the dangers of synthetic opioids, including fentanyl. We're going to learn how to administer nasal naloxone or Narcan. Who's heard of Narcan before? That is awesome. I love that. We're going to raise awareness about the potential consequences of substances, and then connect you guys to important resources here in Oakland County. So here's the numbers. You can see they keep going up across every demographic, every age range, you name it. Back in '99, we lost less than 20,000 people, and in 2022, we lost over 110,000. We had a 114% increase in overdoses from the ages of 10 to 19 from 2019 to 2021. Like the video said, this is one of the fastest growing age groups to be affected by this. That pie chart in the bottom left, 2/3 of that is filled in. 2/3 of those overdoses had a bystander present. That's somebody in the house with them, a friend or a loved one that was there with them when they experienced the overdose. 35% of those overdoses had previous opioid use history. However, 90% of deaths were opioid related. What that tells me when I see those numbers is that a large amount of those people were first-time users. We're going to talk a little bit about counterfeit pills, and like you heard the video say, counterfeit pills are being mass-produced by criminal drug networks. They're easy to purchase and widely available. They often contain fentanyl or methamphetamine. They're being bought and sold everywhere that people buy and sell things. Social media, e-commerce platforms, you name it. Current testing out of the DEA lab reveals that 5 out of every 10 pills that contain fentanyl contain a potentially lethal dose. And for reference, that is a potentially lethal dose of fentanyl right there. That's about 2 milligrams. That is enough to kill somebody with little to no tolerance, myself included. This slide always blows my mind. I mean, like Greg was talking about, if you're looking at 2 pills in your hand today and you don't know where they came from, there's no way to tell whether one is authentic or one is counterfeit. The criminal drug networks have the exact same manufacturing equipment that the pharmaceutical companies have. So there's no way to tell today, unless it comes in a prescription bottle from a doctor with your name on it. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid that is 50 times more potent than heroin and 100 times more potent than morphine. They're counterfeiting anything that has any sort of resale value, everything from Oxycontin to Percocet, Xanax, Adderall, and then fentanyl powder is also being found in today's street drug supply, your cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine. We're going to talk a little bit about the science behind an opioid overdose so that we can understand how naloxone works. So when a person ingests an opioid, that opioid is processed by their body, it gets into their bloodstream, the bloodstream takes it into their brains, and in all of our brains we have these receptors. For opioids, we have the opioid receptor. When the opioid receptor, it sees those opioids floating around in the bloodstream in the brain, reaches out and it grabs onto them. That's what gives that person the feeling of being high when there's an opioid sitting on their opioid receptor. Now during an overdose, too many of those receptors have opioids sitting on them, and what happens is it stops the signals from the brain that tells the lungs to breathe. It looks like an asphyxiation. When that same person has naloxone administered, the naloxone is processed by their body, gets into their brains. When the opioid receptors are holding onto the opioids, when they see naloxone floating around, they like naloxone a lot better than they like opioids. They have a higher affinity for naloxone. So they kick all the opioids off and they grab the naloxone instead. Naloxone doesn't have any psychoactive effects, so the effect of this is that it completely reverses the overdose. The important time to remember, however, with naloxone is 30 to 90 minutes. That is how long the body takes to process naloxone. So we work with the Oakland County Sheriff's Office with our crisis response unit. We've seen cases where people have had their overdoses reversed with naloxone, and then they can go back into overdose when the naloxone wears off. It is very, very important that if somebody experiences an overdose, they seek further medical treatment every single time, even if their overdose gets reversed. Naloxone works on any opiate, anytime. All the ones that we see up here on the screen, everything from Vicodin and Percocet all the way up to heroin and fentanyl. It's important to note naloxone does not work on benzos like Xanax. It doesn't work on stimulants like cocaine or Adderall. It doesn't work on alcohol. It does not work on marijuana. It only works on opiates, but it works on every opiate every time. It can cause a sudden withdrawal, especially in folks that regularly use opioids. Folks that have an opioid tolerance, it can cause them to go into a sudden withdrawal. However, like I said, there's no psychoactive effects. Naloxone's not addictive. There will be no effect on the individual if an opiate is not present, which is fantastic news. Because I didn't go to med school. If I come across someone who's unconscious, I don't know what's going on with them. I can safely administer naloxone. If they are experiencing an overdose, then naloxone will work to reverse that overdose. They have some other sort of medical thing going on, heart attack, diabetic emergency, seizure. Naloxone never makes the situation worse. I could have naloxone administered to me right now and nothing would happen because I don't have any opiates in my system. It is the reversal agent of choice that's used every single day by fire, EMS, law enforcement. We're going to talk a bit about signs and symptoms, both of opioid use and of opioid overdose. It's important to talk about signs of opioid use because if I see these signs in a friend or a loved one, I want to be that safe person that they can talk to, right? So noticing these signs can open the door for a conversation. The number one telltale sign of opioid use is that their pupils are going to contract and appear small. We'll look a little bit more at that on the next slide. But they also might be nodding out, falling asleep, slumped over, itchy, scratchy. Their speech might be slurred. In general, they're going to be pretty out of it. However, if you try to engage with them, if you tap them on the shoulder, you try to have a conversation with them, they will still respond to you. So all of our pupils react to light. If I look into a bright light, you'll see my pupil close up and get really teeny tiny. That's so that less light gets in so that I can see better. And if I go into a dark room, my pupil is going to dilate. It's going to open all the way up to let more light in so that I can see better. Substance use has an effect on this. So there in the middle, we can see someone who might have ingested some sort of stimulant, something like ecstasy or cocaine or Adderall. And then there on the far right, we can see someone who might have ingested some sort of opioid. The pupils are going to be very pinpoint. So we were just talking about signs of use and how that person's going to be pretty out of it, but if you try to engage with them, they will have a conversation. Overdose is when they stop responding. So that person's going to be unconscious. They're going to be, their breathing's going to be slow, shallow, erratic. It might have stopped completely. They could be making strange noises like choking or gurgling or snoring. And then for lighter skinned folks, our skin tone's going to turn bluish purple, especially in the thin skinned areas, places like under the fingernails and in the lips. For darker skinned folks, it'll be grayish or ashen in those same areas. We've got our 5 steps to save a life. It's super duper easy. Step number 1, we want to shake and shout. If I come across somebody who's unconscious, again, I don't know what's going on with them. I'm going to try to wake them up. If I can't wake them up, step number 2, we call 911 every single time. And there's a lot of reasons for this. First and foremost, 911 is always going to have more Narcan on hand than I do. So in the event that this person needs additional doses of Narcan, 911 will be bringing more with them. We've got about a 5-minute response time here in the Metro Detroit area. So I won't have to be performing life-saving measures on this person for too long before EMS shows up. And then it also activates the Good Samaritan law, which we'll hear about in just a second. Step number 3, you're going to take your Narcan, your naloxone. It comes in a blister pack. The blister pack looks just like this. All you have to do is peel the back off. You can see the applicator up there on the screen. I kind of like to hold the applicator between my pointer and my middle finger right around the nozzle. So just like so. That thing up top there, that's the nozzle. It is ready to go as soon as you take it out of the package. You don't have to prime it. You don't have to take the nozzle or the cap off. It's ready to go. All you have to do to administer naloxone is hold the applicator just like so. Put it into that individual's nostril, and then this thing underneath the nozzle, that's a plunger. All you have to do is push the plunger in. You'll hear the applicator click, and it'll spray that medication into that person's nose. And that's more or less it for application. Step number 4, we're going to check their breathing. Naloxone can take 2 to 3 minutes to have an effect, which is going to feel like a lifetime if you're trying to save someone's life. In those 2 to 3 minutes, there are other steps that we can be doing, right? So if you're CPR certified, you can give CPR or rescue breaths, whichever one is necessary. You can check their pulse and their breathing to see which they need. If you don't know how to do CPR, if you don't know how to check their breathing, if you just come across somebody and you have no idea what to do, you've got 911 on the phone. 911 can walk you through how to do all of those things. And then step number 5 isn't working. Like I mentioned, it can take 2 to 3 minutes to work. If there's still no improvement after those first 2 to 3 minutes, each box of Narcan comes with 2 doses. You can take out that second dose and administer it the exact same way as before with 1 change. If I put it into their right nostril the first time, I'm going to put it into their left nostril the second time. The reason for this, I don't know if they maybe have a blockage or something going on with their nose. Best practice is to always alternate nostrils with each dose. And then for aftercare, in the event that you're able to reverse this individual's overdose, we want to put them into the recovery position, which is kind of laying down on their left side with their hand propping their head up. This is going to protect them in case they get sick. They're not going to breathe that back in. They're not going to aspirate. It also helps to reoxygenate the internal organs. This person's probably going to be disoriented. I don't know if you've ever gone home from school and you're just exhausted. You don't know what's going, or you lay down in bed and the next thing you know, it's 5 hours later. You need some water, you smell dinner cooking, you don't know where you are or what year it is. Very similar experience for this person. However, this person's going to probably be in public. There might be lights and sirens going off. They're not going to know how they got there. They might have a bunch of people standing over them, staring down at them. It's a terrifying thing. So it's always something, as a rescuer, that you can approach with care and compassion. You know, hey, you've had a medical event. Can I get you a water? Can I get you a blanket? EMS is on the way. Talk a little bit about resources. So I mentioned the Good Samaritan Law earlier. Who's heard the Good Samaritan Law? Awesome. Those are great. The Good Samaritan Law will protect myself as the caller and the person that I'm calling about, the victim, from any sort of legal trouble that we might get into from me calling 911 to save their life. What lawmakers were seeing back in 2016 is that people were afraid to call 911 because they didn't want the police to show up and arrest people. They were doing something illegal. They didn't want to get in trouble. I want you guys to all know that there's no danger in calling 911. If someone is experiencing a medical emergency, call 911 to save their life. And then I mentioned again earlier that we work with the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. We have our crisis response unit. We're all throughout Oakland County. If you or somebody that you know is struggling with a mental health or a substance use crisis, call that number. It's a 24/7 hotline. You'll talk to somebody like myself, someone with lived experience with substance use disorder, and we try to work with people to help them find their own pathway into recovery. And then finally, the Alliance, my company, we have 105 of these Save Life stations throughout the county. They're free Narcan stations. And I saw the White Lake Police Department officer here. We have a station right in White Lake Police Department. You can show up there, grab as much free Narcan as you want. We make sure that those stations stay filled up. And yeah, like I mentioned, we do work with local community coalitions. Jordan from the Huron Valley Community Coalition is fantastic. She does great work. Definitely check her out, reach out to her. She's fantastic. And I'll pass it over to Greg to close us out.
Thanks, Jonathan. I have some gifts for you guys if you want them. There's this book here called Victoria's Voice. I just heard from Victoria's mom this morning. She's speaking at CTAC in Dallas and said, hey, come down to Dallas. Victoria grew up in a privileged home. Her mother was the Queen of Versailles, a reality show on TV, and she struggled with depression and anxiety. Not even her best friend knew that she was struggling, and she turned to drugs, and she was private, so she was in her own little private hell, if you will, because nobody knew she was really hurting. She wrote all about it extensively over many years, and it was her journal. And she said, Mom, if you find this journal and I pass away, I know you're going to make a book out of it. And that's exactly what her mother did. She made a book out of it, and it's right here. I have one extra copy to give somebody who wants to ask a question, and my friends who are helping me videotape there get the other one. It's meant to pass around. So I encourage you to get it. I'm going to make them available through your principal, and he'll call down. I'll mail in a box at least of these. Quick show of hands. Does anybody know anybody who personally died of fentanyl poisoning? Okay, sorry for your loss. About 3 or 4 people in here. I'm really sorry for your loss. This is how you can fight back as a student. This gal got paid to go to University of Michigan.
Your reason for joining SAFE may be sitting next to you right now. So if you're interested in helping us spread awareness, please DM us on Instagram or scan this QR code so that we can keep our generation safe.
So if you go to fentanylsafe.org, you can find out all about them, and it looks really good on your college application. Another thing you can do, you can have people in from various high schools. This is the best venue I've seen to present. Show the whole movie of Dead on Arrival. or do play practice, only as opposed to the way Dale operates up there, thanks for your help, Dale, today, you would practice 1,001 great comebacks to peer pressure. If someone's giving you a hard time, we are encouraging you to kick them right in the teeth verbally with a comeback that is so rough and ready to make them feel like the idiot moron that they are, that they'll never ask twice. And it's saying no to drugs and style points. You can get this free today. Just go to fentanylfathers.org, fentanylfathers.org, and at the bottom of the page, download this book and practice 1,001 Great Comebacks to Peer Pressure. Got a very powerful story here about Brian Gillette.
This is my son Brian, and I want to go back to something that was said in the movie. And that was, if Brian was here today, he would grab you, he would shake you. He would warn you, don't make this mistake. Brian loved life more than anybody I know. He loved family gatherings, he loved the holidays. He lived for those moments. And those moments are so much harder today with him not being here. Brian was an extremely smart and caring individual. We'd play golf every week in the summer, and he beat me every time. My golf clubs have stayed in my garage for the last 4 years. I just can't bring myself to go out and play anymore. Brian knew more about music than anyone I know. We would share different types of music with each other. We would go to concerts. He taught me more about music than I ever knew. He had a job with Live Nation as an audio engineer, so he was living his dream. He was living his best life. He was also that guy that you could call anytime. We all need a friend like this. He was a person that you could call, he would pick up, he would listen, he would talk with you. And we had a memorial when he passed, and a woman came up to me and said that she was contemplating suicide. And she called Brian in the middle of the night, and he picked up, and he talked with her, and he listened to her for 3 hours. She threw her arms around me and said, "Your son saved my life." I wish I could have saved his. But she couldn't, and I couldn't. And that's why we're here today. So I've done probably 130 of these presentations, and I always pay very close attention to the students. Are they listening? Are they sleeping? Are we connecting with them? And the one thing I know for sure is that the majority of you are sitting here right now thinking, this is never going to happen to me. This only happens to other people. I'm way too smart for this. So I want to share with you a true story about Brian. He lost a friend to fentanyl poisoning. This was a very close friend. He was very upset about it. And he went to his memorial that night. He was staying with us. And when he came home, he was unapproachable. He was very upset. My wife and I decided to give him some time, let him sleep. We'll talk to him about it the next day. So the next morning, we sat down with him and we were talking with him about his friend. And my wife said, "Brian, don't let this be your story." And Brian looked at it and says, "Don't worry. This isn't going to happen to me. I'm way too smart." And then he looked at my wife and he says, "Mom, don't worry. I'm Superman." My son was Superman. He died 10 days later. Nobody in this room is Superman. Nobody in this room is exempt from what this drug can do. Everything changes with one bad decision. So we've talked a lot about you, about preparing you, about bringing you awareness. But I want to talk a little bit about some other people. I want to talk about your family, your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, maybe even somebody in this room. Brian was having a bad day, and he texted my wife saying he was struggling. He needed to get some sleep, and he was going to go to bed. She was alarmed by this, so a couple hours later, we decided to go to his house, take him some groceries, see how he was doing. We walked in the house, I went into the kitchen to drop off the groceries. My wife went upstairs, and then I heard her scream as she tripped over his body. I ran upstairs and found my son lying on the floor. My last image of my son is holding his cold body in my arms. His eyelids were purple. His lips were purple. There was no life in his body. And in the background, all I could hear was my wife wailing, screaming at the realization that she just lost her firstborn son. I see that image every day. It never goes away, and it never will. You have no idea of the pain and the regret and the guilt that we live with. So I'm appealing to you to take what you learned today, remember it, talk to your friends about it, go home tonight, have this conversation with your parents, with your brother and sisters. Make sure they understand the dangers of this drug and the danger of one bad decision. Most importantly, I want to find somebody in this room who's going to be a hero. I already have one hero. It's Principal Perry, bringing us in here, allowing us to talk to you. He thought enough about you to bring this message. But I want you to be at a party. I want you to be someplace where you see somebody being handed a pill. And I want you to have the courage, and it will take courage, to approach that person and share with them what you learned today. That way maybe you can save a life. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Very powerful. We're at the last slide, just asking you guys to say this with us. You know, for my son Drew, for Brian. I know it feels maybe a little cheesy to repeat after the random on stage, but we're really asking you to do it for yourself. Is that fair? So I'll lead us in this, and then we'll take any questions. And just as a reminder, you know, this stuff gets ordered up to your house as fake Xanax, Percocet, Adderall, Oxycontin. And we're telling you because you can order it up. Your parents don't know how to do tech. And it arrives at the house as DoorDash, and they find you playing a video game dead in your beanbag chair an hour later. It's how it goes down all the time. It's the fastest growing age group. Any drug you buy off the street that's not regulated is open and susceptible to having fentanyl poisoning in it. So it's just heads up, don't shoot the messenger, and let's say this together. And I'm videotaping this so they're gonna hear you. I'll never try.
I'll never try.
So I'll never die.
So I'll never die.
From fentanyl.
From fentanyl.
Okay, you guys did great. You guys are fentanyl certified and fentanyl free. And first person to ask me a question gets this book. Oh, and don't forget to fill out the rest of the survey that you started at the beginning. Anybody I got a question over here? Yes, ma'am.
What would be the motive for drug dealers to sell such a fatal dose of drug to anyone, even if it was fake?
That's a brilliant question. It's because the money. Heroin's kind of dead because you have to grow it. This is synthetic, fake, grown in a lab. It's just not regulated. It's made by criminal drug networks, and it's very dangerous. It's money, it's profit, it's easy to move across the border, and they don't care if you die. They don't even see you. Anything to add to that? Yeah. So, and then you gals get this other book right here. And does anybody else have any questions? Otherwise, we can have the principal close this out. Yes, go ahead and yell it out.
Is there any chance for, say, doctors to require those susceptible fentanyl?
As long as it comes from a pharmacy in a bottle with your name on it, that's the only way to know. Fentanyl doesn't, like counterfeit pills do not enter into our pharmacy system. Fentanyl is a medication that is prescribed, right? But we're not talking about prescription fentanyl. It's illicit fentanyl that we've been talking about. So, great question.
Anybody else? Yes. Well, anything that's not prescribed to you is definitely suspect. Doesn't have your name on it from your doctor. It's a weird looking pill. For sure, you can't trust it. You can't trust friends who hand it to you. They didn't make it, so you can't ever trust that. Of course, yeah. And fentanyl is used in medical applications in microdosing. They have people that can revive you on the spot. It's an anesthesia. 90% of anesthesias use it. Anesthesiologists. Any other question? Yeah. Well, it's pill fillers, $14 billion industry. So, criminal drug networks are making that. The United States government has fought back very hard on it. It's a war, and it's because it's slaughtering so many of our kids. The government's really paying attention to it, but it's a real profit center. Anything to add to that? Guys were great. Thank you very much.
Hey, you're left.
Oh, okay, yes.
It's a great question. So Narcan does expire. It's got about a 2 to 3 year shelf life. On each dose, on each of the blister packs like this one, it'll say the expiration date. And then on each box of Narcan, it also has the expiration date. You can always, it's always better to use expired Narcan than no Narcan at all. But you can hit one